The future of fitness.
People may be becoming more health conscious, but are people taking more health conscious actions?
The generic approach doesn't work as well with people anymore.
That person that's in their 30s or 40s who's tried a million different diets, highly stressed, struggling to kind of manage their lifestyle, their sleep, their stress, then they're going to need that support.
So what's your 2 cents then on people who sell generic programs?
Your lifestyle is the reason you are where you are now, and your lifestyle is how you're going to get back to where you want to be.
It's very easy to give someone diet and training plans and follow that for 8 weeks. It's much more difficult to take someone on essentially someone's lifestyle and go, okay, you have 3 kids, this is your weekly schedule, and create a different life for someone.
Life seems impossible until it isn't.
Hey there, and welcome to the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you're passionate about staying fit, healthy, and mentally sharp, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Matt Cooney, and each week we dive into the latest trends, expert insights, and actionable tips to help you take your fitness, nutrition, and mental well-being to the next level. Ready to level up your health and fitness? Let's jump in and get started. Hello, and welcome back to the Future Fitness Lifestyle. We have a full house here again today. How is everybody feeling? We are recording this second week into 2025. Are we all good this morning?
Third week. It's the third week.
Yeah,
Second full week.
It's the first full week proper.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks in January never really
It
count.
was open with everything back normal. First full week.
I actually Googled that the other day because I was like, it can't be the second week already. And it was like Eve said, we're going into the third week technically now. I'm like, no, it's not like.
Yeah, but
Still
I
not
think it's
really.
even nice. It's nice to know that I think January has it's almost like it's 4.5 weeks kind of thing. Do you know, it just seems longer. It seems like we get that extra bit on the month.
Yeah. I feel like
I just
Christmas
wanna
is
let,
ages as well with the week of snow. Like, it's just a long period of time.
It was delayed.
Yeah.
I just want to let all the listeners know that myself and Sharon recording these podcasts at 7 a.m. in the morning. I know Roisin's an hour ahead, but it's still
No,
an
I'm
hour
7
ahead.
a.m. too. I'm the same time as you.
Go away, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so me, Roisin, and Sharon just want to let all the listeners know that we're up bright and early here doing these podcasts very
Crack it
on a
on.
January cold.
Yeah.
And Tommy has had his cold shower this week. You have your water bath.
Yes, my brain is functioning right now.
So yeah, if me and Eve have more energy than the rest of you know why. It's because it's not 7 a.m. here.
If we fall asleep mid
So-
podcast, that's why.
I started
Yeah,
learning
if I have to wake
business.
anybody up. But in our defense though, our caffeine curfew is gone, we're gone past it, so I'm not,
Whoopty fucking
well, I'm
do.
caffeinated from this morning, but you guys can drink coffee. I was going to actually have another one, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
I was setting my alarm this morning, and Tuesday morning is like, I think I have to set it for 20 to 6. And this morning I was setting it for 20 past 6. So I was like, I'm kind of getting a lion.
Yeah.
Right, let's get into today. So last week we talked about hacks and lessons from 2024. What I want to talk about today is more, instead of looking back, looking forward, and a play on words on our company name, The Future of Fitness. So looking at what's ahead for 2025 and essentially beyond. So the first thing I want to kind of touch on is, I think going forward over the coming years, not just 2025, there's going to be more of a focus around health. And it's kind of I've seen it somewhere on social media. Someone was saying last year was the first year in God knows how many years that health has been Googled more than fat loss or muscle building. So you can see that people are starting to become more, I suppose, aware and concerned with their health and living, not just losing weight or building muscle, but actually living a healthy lifestyle. Tommy, what do you think about that? First, I'm going to ask, do you agree? I'm going to say, hopefully you do. Seeing as we focus on health.
A huge part of me, which is a very optimistic part of me as a person, would say yes, definitely, that people are definitely becoming more health conscious. I think there's maybe a difference there may be a separation in that. People may be becoming more health conscious, but are people taking more health conscious actions to align with those thoughts or feelings that they may be having? Again, an optimistic part of me would like to say yes, but there's definitely still a lot more to be done on that side. One, obviously, of the biggest positives around social media is obviously education, and we're living in a more educated world right now compared to last year, to 5 years ago, to 10 years ago. So the type of information that is out there right now, I often actually think of it myself sometimes. I feel like we're so blessed right now compared to like a couple of years ago. It's even like 10 years ago. Just the amount of information out there right now that you can get around literally any type of subject. And I haven't even talked about ChatGPT. That just came into my mind there. Literally, the information is endless. Yes, of course, there is so much misinformation and disinformation, and there's obviously people out there that maybe are speaking on things that they're not 100% educated on, and they might have their own agendas or biases towards that, of course. But I think when it comes to information, I think every human being has a choice in whether they want to believe that type of information. And so for me, yes, my answer would be yes. I think we are becoming more health conscious, but I also think there's still so much that we could do as a society to help progress people in terms of their own general health, because obviously, as we know, we've spoken about before, people's mental health, the diseases in this world are all actually they're declining rather than, they're increasing rather than declining. So there is a catch-22 within that. So again, I think it's kind of brings me back to my first point, is that yes, people might be more health conscious, but are people making more health conscious actions towards their health? I think that's the big gap there that people need to bridge.
I was going to say, it's like we're becoming maybe more health conscious, but are we actually living in a more health conscious world right now? Probably not. With a lot of the way we live, it's a lot more. Again, you hear this term like an obesogenic environment, and again, we're generally moving less, exercising less, stressing more, sleeping less. There's a ton of stuff when it comes to health. The trends is not really good, and we can see the results of that with mental, physical health disease. It's probably, though, why I do think in the future, essentially there has to be more of a focus. We can't just keep going the way we are going, and I do think there's some positives with it. Like, even I was looking at some podcasts, like the Diary of a CEO. One of the most downloaded ones last year was Dr. Mike talking about, like, I think it's like 10 health myths or something like that. Also, another one was Dr. Stacey Sims talking about things you talk about menopause or female health in general, which is kind of another subtopic of health, which I think is going to become very much prevalent, and it's kind of in the future. You can see it already happening a lot now. Well, it depends where you look. Maybe not in the mainstream, but it's definitely getting there through people like Stacey Sims, Gabrielle Lyon, because we know, like, women's health is actually pretty much, we don't know much. Most studies have been done on men for various reasons, but there's very much this whole world of, like, women's health that we don't really know about. And I think it's the same with gut health, brain health, and one other. I forget what the other one is, but a lot of these are going to be getting more popular. But again, we don't actually know that much about them in terms of our knowledge yet,
I think that's also going to be a huge thing that we're going to see more of in 2025 and beyond, is the tracking and reading of different, like, the technologies behind different tests. I was briefly listening to a podcast during the week. Do you know that guy who's like not the healthiest man, but he's like the youngest, his body, he's doing all these tests on his body.
Oh,
Brian Johnson.
Netflix.
Yeah.
You both said different names. What's his name?
Same guy, Brian Johnson. His name, it's called Don't Die on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but
I think he was on a podcast that popped on at the end of a podcast of mine the other day, and I was just briefly listening. But all the metrics for, like, reading, like, your heart health or the health of your different organs, and how you can work on, like, reducing the age. I think that's going to be a huge thing we're going to see more of, is the tracking of those things. But and that'll be both beneficial in some sense because people will take it and use it towards actually living a healthier lifestyle. But then a lot of people, I think, are going to try and use that as like a quick fix, to not go into the deeper things, and just because we see that with like even the like weight loss drugs and stuff. A lot of people are like, oh, we'll just take that and get a quick fix rather than looking at it in long terms.
Shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Could be. So essentially that guy Brian Johnson is kind of just devoting his life to being a guinea pig for trying to live as long as possible. And I don't know too much about him, but I'm sure he was like a millionaire or billionaire. He basically sold his company and then just like this became like a passion project for him. But I also wonder, I think he is bringing out a sleep supplement or something. So again, it's like off the back of everything, is there something that in it for other people, or from a company or a business standpoint?
Yeah, I think he said it's something like, it's like 2 million. He's spending like 2 million a year on staying this healthy or this young, but it's most of that money is on just the testing behind everything, because I think he goes in once a week and he gets tested on like his heart health, all his organs. They're testing all his organs and seeing how they can bring down the age of certain organs. And it's interesting to listen to, but like it's so extreme, but that's probably the thing is people want to live as long as they can, and so the tests are going into these extreme methods, I guess.
We saw the ad on Netflix, and like his morning routine or something was like 3 hours long, and he was like, I don't even know what he was doing, but he was like eating his breakfast while he was doing squats or something. And I was like,
and he had
why
the thing
are
on
you
his
doing
head
this? I'm like,
for
that's
hair regrowth.
Yeah, he's just doing loads of like crazy things, like, and his morning routine was like, so like he's obviously just a guinea pig or something, but like that's not, no normal person is going to have time to do all these million different things that he's doing every day. And like even at that, having your breakfast and squatting at the same time, I don't see how that could benefit you in any way, because like you need to be like sitting down, rest and digest. You're not going to be able to digest food if you're jumping around like a mad one.
Yeah.
He's going to prove you wrong.
He'll be bloated and he'll have digestive issues if he's doing that.
And then he'll have to spend another million to figure out how he can improve his digestion to live longer.
Yeah.
More money than
I watched the first, probably, I think I missed the last like 20 minutes of it. But you mentioned the word Roisin. Like, is there another word that goes beyond extreme? He's literally there. Like,
yeah.
To do what he's doing every single day.
Gone the whole road.
The whole road.
There's no better word.
Like,
it's pretty impressive if you ask me.
It is, but he's essentially trying to live younger, but in terms of, is he actually living life?
Yeah.
If I was looking at that documentary, no, like he's not. He's doing the exact same thing every single day, and his whole life is built around this routine and structure. So, like, is he going to do that for the rest of his life? And that's a big thing too. They do say that, they do question him in it. Has he got an agenda behind this supplement that he's trying to?
And I wonder, like, question what comes from it, but then it's like, at what point do you stop? Like, does he just have to do this till he dies? But then he's trying not to die, so he mightn't die. So what's going to happen? He's just going to keep getting up at half 4 in the morning with this thing, taking 150 pills a day, eating, like, I don't know. Like,
he's essentially being the guinea pig for everyone to come after him. But again, which is like, okay, I can kind of see that's incredible to kind of devote your life to that. But also, it's all been tested on his one body. And I mean, like, tests like this, everybody's body is completely different. You can't just do it off like one person, So yeah, I think it's a lot of time and energy going into one thing that probably needs a lot more testing on other people as well. But yeah, the extremists of the world.
Yeah, I think there's going to be different people. You're going to have that camp that looks at this and goes, he's nuts, stay away, don't even give him time of day. You're going to have the extremists who get like caught head first going into this stuff. But the reality is, what we want to do is kind of cherry pick what he's doing and going, okay, out of the million things he's doing, maybe this one thing seems to be like achievable for me and my life, without costing millions or making me do something that's insane, and then we can use that, going forward. Like, that's my opinion on how, like, nobody wants to be that guy, really.
But I think it comes back to all the same markers that we talk about. He says it's like the actual things that he does, the things that do the most improvements are pretty basic and everybody can do them. Like sleep. He talks about how sleep is so important and we talk about it. But then he goes about like one bad night's sleep can have this effect on your whole longevity. And it's like, oh, fuck, like I have one night of bad sleep and I'm after knocking 7 years off my life.
Yeah. It's that perfectionism, and you'd wonder as well, how much stress is he causing himself by trying to be so quote unquote optimal?
Yeah.
So what effect is that having? There's so many, like, because that is a huge factor. Like, perfectionism in general is like it causes a lot of stress, which again has downstream effects, But I don't know. I presume he's taking a million pills to offset the stress he's putting on himself by people. Yeah, it's just a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
We need to get him on the show.
But that's why I say even like with technology devices and stuff for 2025, I feel like there's going to be a lot more things that they can read, and a lot more people are going to get caught up in that whole, oh, I'm just going to look at this device and this device is going to tell me if I'm okay or if I'm not okay, and like banking on that rather than actually being in your body.
Yeah, like it would make more sense if you became more aware of how your body feels, knowing what you feel like when you do certain things, what makes you feel your best, instead of, having to look at an app for like, how was my sleep quality? How is my body feeling in general today? Which that can probably end up happening if we stay moving more towards, like you said, Ro, with kind of apps and technology track and all those things.
I think with health as well, I think it's such a complex topic, and there's so many variables that go into what is healthy. Like, a lot of people, even with food, they're like, is this healthy? It's like, there's so many questions that need to be answered behind that. And that's where, even with, like, Tommy, you said it about a lot of information, I think there's some dangers with it, is like, like I was saying earlier, that the information it's only early days for a lot of them. And like, if we look online, like, there is a few things we do kind of pretty much beyond shadow of a doubt know. Like, for example, calories matter. Like, that's a thing. But there's still people online with biases saying that they don't, or it's insulin that causes. I'm just thinking of Eddie Boo. Insulin is the thing, carbs, whatever it is. But there's like literally so much evidence to tell us no, there's not. That's not like, and they still don't believe it. So then when you look into like gut health, brain health, even women's health, the experts, which when you think of the word expert, you think they know everything about a topic, but they only know what's available to them at that moment. So like, there's so much more that we still don't know. And I think that's where the danger lies, is a lot of these people from like now until when we get maybe some more clear understanding, there could be a lot of people's biases, or I won't say agendas, but just maybe misinformation.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
But I think also more people need, and I think we'll see more of that, is like more people need to realize, let them be their own experiment. Because like you said, Matt, you could go online and be like, is broccoli bad for you? And you'll find a load of articles that tell you broccoli will kill you, and you'll find a load of articles that will tell you broccoli is so healthy. So
Don't talk bad about broccoli, Rose.
No, I love broccoli, but like,
What is broccoli?
You can go online and find information that stands to both sides. And for the everyday person, they're not going to go and look for references and go back and see which actually has tests done on it. So I think it's very important, and I think we might see more of it, is being your own experiment. Like, get the information. If it stands to you, then go test it out in yourself and see how you feel around certain foods and stuff, and diets and training, and how you move your body. And again, coming back to seeing how it feels to get a good night's sleep, rather than waiting for something to tell you if you did get a good night's sleep or not.
I think that kind of comes into another point that I had of, for the future, is like more of that individual and tailored approach. And we were talking about something just before the podcast, because even the note that I had here was like, even a 9 to 5, it's actually not really common anymore. Like, we were talking before we started the podcast, and I think it was Ro mentioned about somebody having to do 5 days in the office now. And we were all like, wow, oh my God. Realistically, a few years ago, that was the way life was. It was like most people were in 9 to 5s. And even like, years ago, you had your 9 to 5, probably your shift workers, your tradesmen. It was very, I won't say the same, but like nowadays, people are working remote. There's a lot more entrepreneurs that own their own businesses. The 9 to 5 people are doing multiple things at once. They're working at like a 9 to 5 and other jobs. There's so many more things. So again, it's like every situation is going to be quite different. So the approach that will, I think, need to be taken needs to be a more towards that individual and a more like, I would say, a principle based approach, but then tailored to the specific person and their situation, if you agree.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, I
I
think like
Essentially,
in terms of, are you saying, sorry, with that, are you kind of saying more towards coaching, like it needs to, or just in general, the information?
Yeah, I think from a coaching perspective, yeah, we're going to it has to be a lot more tailored to the person, because it's just everybody is so different nowadays. And then that's all, even you just take into consideration what we said is just talking really about career. Don't even take the mindset perspective into it. And then we have like, there's bigger factors, like socioeconomic class, things like that, but you can get into. But I definitely think more, I see it over the last few years is the generic approach doesn't work as well with people anymore. And I also don't know, I've been thinking this, like, this is where I think in the future, the skills of coaches, or the skills of jobs in general, people are going to have more skill, especially when it comes to like the coaching industry, because people in a way, I was kind of thinking of this, people in a way are getting a bit harder to coach because of all the variables. And when you also look at like mental physical health is declining, there's more, we have to be better at our job. And I was thinking about this, I'm like, do we have to be better? Also, I was kind of wondering, I'm like, do we have to be better, or are we just trying to solve a bigger problem than we were before? And this is me personally, because I'm like, well, I just look at like 10 years ago, we were kind of just like getting people in shape, but now it's like, it's more, we're changing their lifestyle, it's very easy to give someone diet and training plans that follow after 8 weeks. It's much more difficult to take essentially someone's lifestyle and go, okay, you have 3 kids, this is your weekly schedule, this is your experiences with dieting previously, take on everything and create a different life for someone, So I don't know. There's this element, I think, of both, if that makes.
Okay, I want to.
Oh, sorry, am I cutting over you, Tommy?
No, Sharon.
I think like what you're saying, Matt, in terms of like coaching being more individualized and coaching, but also all jobs, you need kind of more skill in it. Like, I think when you are coaching, there is a skill there when it comes to, like Tommy said, like there's so much information everywhere and we have so much information available, but it's like taking that information that we maybe would have or would know, taking what's kind of needed at the time for that client and then helping them to bring it into their life so that they can start making changes. Like, I suppose more like you said, Matt, like with follow this diet and this training program for 8 to 10 weeks, but really like the most benefit you're going to get is knowing your clients, working with them for longer than 8 to 10 weeks, or just throwing them out generic nutrition plans or training programs. That it comes like good coaching, I think, is knowing your clients and giving them the support they need and giving them what they need at that time, and like asking them questions to. And I think that's something that you've really taught me as well, Matt, over the last couple of months. It's like ask questions as much as you can to really find out like what is going on and get a better understanding.
For me, you were going to say something.
Yeah, you and Sharon kind of answered this, but this is a more controversial style question that you can all answer. I can see Matt already getting riled up with this, because what you're talking about, is people's needs and looking after people's needs. So what's your 2 cents then on people who sell generic programs for like €30, let's say, coaches out there who are selling these plans to people for like this low cost coaching, when there actually isn't much coaching involved in it, because you don't actually speak to the coach, and you're essentially just being given, let's say, a plan, and it's like, okay, now you work away. So what is your feeling on that? That's an open question to everyone.
Sharon,
I
do you
think
want to throw me in the mud, or do you want to? Oh, Eve, you go.
Oh, you go
I
on.
think like, you know, people that may work for some people, like these cheaper programs, or if you're just getting, you know, like a meal plan, or you know, if you're just getting like a training program, that may well work for some people, but then, you know, for someone else, that actually may make them worse off, or they may get really overwhelmed because, you know, they're not able to follow it, or they don't understand it. And, you know, that's when they're going to struggle then, because they don't have the support. If it's just a €30 program, then there's not going to be support with that, or there's not going to be check-ins. It's not going to be individualized, tailored to your own lifestyle, your own job, whether or not you've kids. So like, what's going to happen in that situation then is, you know, like I said, they'll just get overwhelmed. They can't do it, and they'll think that, you know, they just can't get results, or that they're the problem. When in actual fact, it's just that they'd made the wrong decision in, you know, going for something that wasn't tailored to them. But then I also understand that, you know, there's people obviously that maybe can't afford coaching, or, you know, especially younger people, like lads in college, younger students, things like that. Then, you know, when they're kind of just starting off, something like just having a basic template might just help give them that bit of structure as well. So it actually might kind of help them.
So my answer, Tommy, is I used to do it. So when I know from experience. So yeah, when I first started out, what, we 10 years ago, there was a period of time where I was doing coaching, but then you could also just buy a training and nutrition plan from me for like a low cost. And like I did that for a while, and then I realized like basically nobody was implementing it, or like the success rate on people who just bought training and nutrition was very, very low compared to when you actually did coaching, even if it's the same plan. So I'm like, okay, for me, the result I want is like impact and actual transformation and feeling fulfilled doing that, versus like just looking from a business perspective. Could I have done a load of marketing, just sold these one-off plans, ran Facebook ads, tried to get a certain profit? But I could probably do that and eventually make a business from it. But I know the success rate is like 5% or something. So where it's like for me, I'm like, I don't really want to live. That's not why I'm doing this. So it's like that's where I decided to stop doing them, because I'm like, okay, they don't work for. And like the thing is, I think if you're in your 20s, you've no responsibilities, you're just getting into the gym, you want to know how to like follow a program and eat. It can work for them. They seem to be the people that would get the results when I used to sell them back 10 years ago. It was like young 20s guy was going to the gym, didn't really know what he's doing. I give him that, they would do it. Take someone that's in their mid 30s with 3 kids, a wife, and you know, you just give them this plan. Yeah, they're probably not. It's probably on their desktop for about 15 years as a PDF that they didn't even know they had. You know.
Yeah, accountability is huge for that type of person, you know, not the young 20-year-old who's just anything, he's no stress, no problems, probably lives at home, gets all his meals cooked for him and everything, and he's just starting in the gym. He's obviously going to get incredible results. Whereas, like you said, that person that's in their 30s or 40s who's tried a million different diets, highly stressed, you know, struggling to kind of manage their lifestyle, their sleep, their stress, then they're going to need that support and accountability and adjustments and help making things that bit more sustainable for them.
I think it can be.
Like,
Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead.
No, no, go on.
Sure. So, yeah, even for me, you guys might have done this. Like, I've bought things before, like coaching or like more on the business side of things, that were like a couple of £100, didn't do anything in them. I probably have about 5 courses that I bought over the years that are, I can find a login somewhere. But then I've paid thousands for coaching, for like business mentoring, and like you know, what you bet, like I implemented all that stuff, and it could have been the same. I could have the same stuff I paid 100 quid for on a course. It could have been, you know, but it's still sitting there. Versus when I invested, I suppose part of that with that, even that financial investment, you're going to take more action. You just put a higher value on it.
So then my question then is, because we're talking in the future sense, then where do you see that type of, let's say, a material or coaching going in 2025 and beyond?
I think,
Go,
I
Sharon.
think I think it can be a good stepping stone for people. And like that, like, you know, there's no point, like you said, Matt, having it on your laptop and just leaving it there. But like, I mean, if maybe somebody is maybe like just starting, that might be the first place that they might start and they might take action. And it's maybe a little bit simpler for them. But I suppose it's then what do they do afterwards? You know, because after those 8 to 10 weeks, you can't stay repeating. But it's like looking at those kind of programs and then looking at, okay, maybe what do people need to do after them? You know, and it's not just like staying doing the same thing all the time. They're not going to get you the results. So, like, I think that there's levels there for everybody, but I think that it's for people, it's understanding where their level is and where they kind of need to start stepping forward afterwards. And I heard it on a podcast the other day. I think it was Hattie Boydell was on a podcast, and she was saying some people need to lose weight for their health, but some people need to learn how to like maintain their weight, and some people need to learn to kind of progress in other areas for their health. So I think it's kind of understanding individual people what they need, and then like it would be great if people had programs for like 12 weeks transform your lifestyle, but you know, it does take months and months. I'm going to say it's going to take years, like, you know, to really have long-term change. I know it has for me. Maybe
You're not selling it well, Sharon.
What?
You're not selling it well.
Oh, am I not selling it well?
Years. I know, when
I would
you
say
meant to
that
say
with
12,
coaching as
12
well.
days.
I know for me it has taken years of like learning, but I can make the changes for people in 10 weeks.
10 minutes.
10
Just give us
minutes.
a text after this.
That's the soundbite right there.
Sharon, you actually just said, everything you said there, I was laughing because I'm like, we have essentially 4 levels in MC Future Fitness that people go to, or like they start on this foundation level and they go through like 4 levels. And it's like the thing that was popping up in my head is like new levels, new devils. So we have at the bottom is lifestyle change. People come to us for lifestyle change, and then it's about maintaining. So it's maintaining that lifestyle change. And then we have the performance level where it's like, now you're maintaining that new lifestyle. We want to get better. We need to improve. And then the top level is what I call Kaizen, which is tattooed on me, which means continuous improvement. So that's where, like, when you get there, it's like, okay, I'm progressing, but now it's like, what can I do? What's the next level? What am I capable of? And usually that's like things you didn't think when you were making a lifestyle change you could ever do. You know, and we have clients here can, like, even Sarah pops to mind. She said that she's doing an ultra this year, starting back way back when. I don't even think she was ever running, you know? And so it's like,
Yeah.
that's the, can you buy that in a PDF program? That's my question to you, Tommy. For 30 quid, can you get that?
Depends
That's
what's
so
in it.
funny. Actually, I was chatting to Sarah yesterday, and she was just talking about. I can't remember what she said she was doing, but she said it reminded her of the Future Fitness 56,
Yeah.
and that's where she started. You know, at kind of
Yeah.
base level, and now look at her, like that's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny when you get even a couple. I've had a couple people send me like those memories. It's been like a kettlebell and a mat in their like sitting room or something, you know. And it was like 4 or 5 years ago, starting at this. I was like, it's madness to see where they are now.
Yeah, and I think that Kaizen part is like a huge part as well. Like you were saying there, people come on, they literally just come on because they, you know, you feel like crap, you want to lose a bit of weight, you want to get healthier, you want to feel better in an outfit. And then here they are like 4 to 6 years later, and you know, they've ticked off goals that they never even thought possible. Another person that kind of came to mind there was even Megan Burke, who started with us when she was over teaching in Abu Dhabi, went on just to kind of get fitter, get healthier, lose a bit of weight. And since that now, like, she's absolutely smashed how many photo shoots. And this year now she's done the photo shoot. The next challenge is she wants to do a half marathon. She's gonna do a Hyrox event next month. So like, you push yourself to these new levels and you kind of get that almost hooked on taking on something hard or taking on a new challenge.
And I think those kind of maybe 8 to 10 week generic programs, when you look at like having the supportive community, having the people around you who are kind of like you said, going to the next levels, like, that support, those kind of people around you, they're really what make the difference. And like that, the accountability.
And I think, like, trying to wrap up a lot of what you're saying there, particularly when you're using Sarah and Megan, like, all that took time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just start. Sarah didn't have when she first started with us, thinking I'm going to do an ultra marathon or an ultra. It's not a marathon, an ultra. She essentially came with certain goals, and she went through the process of climbing those different levels, Matt, that you're talking about. But she also invested herself into that. She committed to that. She committed to making the lifestyle changes. She worked on her own challenges in life, whatever they may be. She worked on her own mindset. All that takes a huge amount of time. Sorry to say it to you, Matt, but I do agree with Sharon.
Thanks, Tommy.
Oh no, I know you. I know
You're
you agree
fired
with that.
after this podcast, you know that.
Yeah, it's down
That new
there now.
7-day detox I was just about to sell is gone out the window.
Yeah, but it does take a lot of time and effort, and I think what a big thing about MC Future Fitness is the environment that we create, that we facilitate to allow people to step into, to allow themselves to feel discomfort, but knowing that they have the tools and they have the strategies to be able to feel that discomfort and do whatever it is that they want to do, even though they're in the presence of that discomfort. That's where the growth is. That's where people are evolving, and it's really great to hear those two examples. And there's obviously many more that we could do probably a whole podcast on, but I think it's just important for people to know when we're talking about future health trends, it is a one big realization to know that it does take time. And it does take time, but there's so many people out there that are prime examples of that you can change your whole entire life. I love that thing, that saying, that both you, Matt, and Eve both mentioned that people have done things that they never thought that they would do. It's incredible to hear that type of saying, because it can be so empowering, it can be so inspiring to hear people actually say those things. It gives people such a hope also they can go and do those things.
Tommy, you said a quote when you were running the other day. Sorry, bro. Tommy, what was the quote you said? It was something like, it was something's impossible until it's not. I don't know. Was that it?
It seems life seems impossible until it isn't.
Go ahead, bro. Sorry.
No, I was just going to agree with all of this and say that it is a slow process, and I think we'll see that more, that like people will be locking in on longer coaching programs, because we now know there's so many factors behind. It's not just physically losing weight, it's not just eating right, there's stress, there's all these factors, there's the mindset. That can seem very daunting to people who are just coming on board. So coaching has to be like this slow process where you're teaching people these different, looking at what works best for them and slowly integrating it into their lives, and then keeping them on to see the benefit of it. And it's taking people away from, I think it's helping people switch that energy behind it, because a lot of people will go into losing weight as like a punishment. Like, I need to lose weight, I need to eat right. And when you give them all the tools and show them that like they get to take ownership, it becomes exciting. And that's why, yes, it's a long game and it's your whole life. But instead of looking at it as this like chore that you have to lose weight, you have to eat right, you have to do this for your mindset, you have to do this for stress, it becomes this thing that like, oh, I get to do this. and it becomes a fun process of, now I get to push myself to the next level. Oh fuck, what can I do next? What can I do next? And I think when the coaching is done right, you create that atmosphere and that energy in individuals and then as a community.
It's weird. I just wrote in my phone, in my notes, like I'd say an hour ago before this is what I've written. If you just lose weight by focusing on eating less, a calorie deficit, and neglect the other areas of your life that need to change, you will struggle tremendously to keep it off. You didn't get fat by just eating more. It's the way you were living. The food was the result. The lifestyle was the trigger. I think that was what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing, like you could have the best training program in the world and you could be eating all the right food. But if you are stressed out of your mind, like your body's not absorbing the proper nutrients and your body's in constant state of fight or flight. And if you have a disease or an illness, that stress is just keeping that alive in your system. So that's why it's so important that like the food could have given you the illness, but like the stress is keeping it alive in you. So that's why you need to be able to looking at all factors.
Yeah. And I always talk
I
about
think it was the
people like pieces of. Go ahead,
the
Sharon. I was lagging.
muscle mentors we went to one time in Birmingham. And I always
Yeah.
remember the quote, your lifestyle is the reason you are where you are now. And your lifestyle is how you're going to get back to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Or your lifestyle is what you're going to use to get back to where you want to be.
I always explain it to people like pieces of a puzzle. So again, if you have a puzzle, if you don't have all the pieces, you can never finish the puzzle. It doesn't matter what you do, how hard you try, there's pieces missing. So that's what we, even as coaching, we're trying to do, is come in from a bird's eye view and go, hey, there's pieces here that should be here, or you don't have these two pieces. You need to put them in, you know? And until you get, and this is where a lot of people get frustrated, and it's one of those things, like this is even starting to go down into self-sabotage and behaviors or limiting beliefs, is like people will knowingly or unknowingly, they continually basically fall back to the same behaviors, and then they're frustrated that they're not making the changes, but they're looking at the wrong piece of the puzzle, because they're like, I just need more discipline, or I just need to stop eating chocolate. It's like, no, you need to look at why you're eating chocolate, not the chocolate. And then it's like, and then why every time you lose 10 pounds, you get to this point and it clicks and you go off and gain it again. So it's like, yeah, it's trying to getting people to, I suppose, understand that the whole
Get
picture.
into the root cause.
And that leads me on. We have one more trend that I want to talk about. That is, well, it's actually, there's two, but I think they're polar opposites. One we've already said is like, which I think is going to be, obviously we all know is going to be a big future trend, is the phone, essentially, technology, apps, all that stuff. And then on the flip side, I actually think it's going to get to a point, and I think it already is, where people start to really crave the opposite, which is nature and connection and getting outside. So I think both are going to be future trends, which is kind of, you can't really do both. But I feel like, especially with mobile phones, I don't think we know the extent that they're harming our health yet. As in, we do, but we don't really. And it's like, I even look at it this way. I don't know where I heard this, but it's like every time that we're on social media, that you're on that screen, even anyone listening, you're listening to this, there's thousands of people behind that screen who are, their sole purpose in life is to get you to keep watching that screen. And they're paid, the best people in the world are paid to get you to keep watching. So for us to think naively we could, like, yeah, I'll just stop using my phone, I'll use my phone less, not actually have intentional practices and really have to go about this thing. Yeah, I don't think any of us are going to win, so there's going to have to be more intentional practices. And we even, funny enough, in Bali there's a sign up the road, and it's like, you've had enough. I must put it on the picture. It's like, you've had enough social media usage today. And then
You've
it's
reached
like,
your
click
limit.
on this. Yeah, you've reached your social media limit today. And then it's actually about, I think it's about like getting away from, and it's like, if you want to connect with more people outside of social media or something like that. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think it has a massive impact, getting out, getting, like, very simply, like getting out, getting for walks, even you'll always meet people, when you're out and
Karen,
about.
you will anyway.
What?
You will always meet people.
I know, but
You
it's
know
not.
everyone.
Stay away from Sharon. If you see Sharon walking across the road,
But it's not even that, like, you know, you have to stop up and talk to them. You can just salute them, or someone might smile at you, and it makes a big difference. Something I realized last week, I realized like how it affected me not being able to get outside as much. So this week I really was making an effort to like get out as much as I could. And something I used to always do, and I don't know how it slipped, but I think it was the way it just slipped. But I used to always, when I was working in Trinity on the early, I used to go outside, have my coffee. I used to go outside, have my lunch. You know, it was sheltered, but I used to always do it, and I stopped doing it. And I did it yesterday, and I know it's such a massive difference for just getting out, getting fresh air in the middle of the day. And I think that people need to start kind of leaning back towards getting out, getting walks, getting out in nature. And I
like you
think
said,
like
it has to be intentional. You know, you intentionally had to do that yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think time outside is probably like the most important thing for your sleep. I would say, even for myself, like, you know, you could have a day where your steps are really low, you've barely gotten outside, and like you just can't sleep that night. You're stressed, you're wired. Whereas, you know, if you get outside, even if it's like, it doesn't have to be a lot. If you can get out on your lunch break, even before work, like Sharon said, 5 minutes, 10 minutes with your morning coffee, if you have a work break, like you'll just feel so good for it. And yeah, it'll just have such huge impact.
I definitely agree as well. Like if I don't get outside in the morning, I notice a like I haven't got outside yet this morning, and I feel like, you know, a little foggy. Whereas when you get outside and even if it's 5 minutes, like the fresh air, the difference it makes, it's incredible. And that's why even like during your day, like Sharon does, stepping outside for even 5 minutes, just get air on your face, it revives you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big thing that was coming up for me when you were talking about nature, and that was actually COVID. Just the amount of times that I actually just went for like walks in nature, and I remember actually when COVID first came, I think, what was it, March or something, and it felt like it was the summertime. And honestly, just because I suppose we didn't have much to do, you obviously had more of a reason to be outside, but it's trying to take the lessons from obviously that experience and the impact that it can have on you. Like every single one of us here has spoken in good terms about getting outside, about being in nature. And you would think that it's a simple thing for people to do, but I bet you if there was like studies done here in Ireland, the numbers would be really low for the amount of people that actually don't get outside, or actually don't go for a walk in a park, or don't go do a hike. I would say the numbers are very, very low. And one thing, obviously we know, like, we came from nature. We're meant to be connected to nature. Anyone here, anyone who goes to experience a hike or a walk, or goes to the ocean or goes to the beach, they're always going to feel 1% better. And to try and implement that now going forward in your year, to try and actively plan to make little trips away for yourself with your friends. It's a great tool to get people together, to connect. If you ever want to see Sharon, you know, you can just get outside. You might see her out on your walk, so you might
Follow the
7
greyhound.
a.m. But it just has so many benefits to us as human beings, to be out in nature and to be outside. And the more that you can do that, the better you're going to feel for it. And a lot of it obviously is put down to, we perceive the effort that it's going to take to do it. And we can get stuck in ruts where we don't want to do that. But that's where you have to actively push past that that resistance that you feel to going to plan it, to getting there, to do it. And once you get into a rhythm or a routine of it, well, essentially you're going to remember that good feeling, and it's going to make it easy for you then to adhere to keeping up that structure and routine. And obviously I know, it's particularly with last week in Ireland, it's not the easiest thing in the world here. You're dealing with obviously weather conditions and that, but you got to make do with what you have, and you don't have to totally rely on that excuse of the weather. You can still put on your, if you have boots, if you have wellies, put on your gloves. I remember last week, like, I was fully, totally wrapped up in skiing gear going out for a walk last week, so it still can be sun. So it can.
Julie had stories up as well with the wellies. It actually looked amazing, to be honest. And she was out in the fields with all the snow on the wellies.
There's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad clothing.
And on nature as well, I'm probably going to butcher the study, but there was research done of people who lived in a city and worked like in an office or desk jobs, a demanding job. Getting out in nature, I think for 1 hour a week, decreased their cortisol by 21%, which is massive. So again, for people who are in demanding jobs or under more stress, it seems counterintuitive but it's like, it's even more important to get away and disconnect and get out in nature, and even away from your phone. I think also it's you can tie them together,
Yeah, but the energy and the oxygen, like if you're in a forest or if you're in a park, like the trees, like the energy, the air is different, which is so beneficial. And anybody who knows that, anybody who's even stepped in a forest or a woods or a park, you feel that kind of calmness as soon as you enter it. So yeah, it's just getting
There's
more
also,
people aware of that.
I even think there's research on people that live in cities versus rural areas, like the rates, something to do with their mood or anxiety or something, is lessened out in the country, like just being out, I think, away from the hustle and bustle. Obviously there's pollution, air, all that stuff that kind of ties into it. Lifestyle as well. People in the country tend to live a little bit less stressed. They're more freer.
But we even say that, like,
hustle and bustle of the city.
Anytime we've gone down to Clonakilty, to where Dad is, like, you instantly, as soon as you get out of the car, you're like, wow, calm. And then our house at home in Burgess, like the country air, like anytime I go home and I'm there, I'm like, just this sense of calm. It's just quiet, it's peaceful, love it. So yeah, definitely getting out more.
Yeah, I think it's the way to connect as well, for connection, and which is something people are going to crave over time, because again, with the digital world that we live in now, like even for me and Eve, when we're away, Eve probably more than me, get to a point where like Eve's like, I need to, because we don't really hang around anyone. Yeah, she's like, I need to see my friends, or I need to get out, like I need to get away. I've had enough now.
I need a break from you.
But yeah, any closing, I was going to say, arguments, thoughts? I think
we're just going to see, like, it's going to go two different ways, but like we said here, like it'll be very technology based, like tracking, fitness, kind of that kind of style. But I think we're also going to see a lot more natural, like mind-body connection, and like tapping into focusing more on yourself and being your own little experiment. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, both sides, in the next coming year anyway.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be that. It's going to be more of that health-focused approach with changing lifestyle change, and also including trying to use the technology to your advantage, but also having strategies and intentions to get away from it and actually disconnect and get out in nature and get away. And like you said last week, Tommy, about actually taking breaks. But I think the big thing is intention. Nowadays, you have to take ownership of your health. If you don't, naturally, it is not going to be the best. Naturally, you're going to sit on the couch, scroll your phone, eat crap, and do things that are probably not going to be conducive to your long-term health. But instead, you need to take ownership of your actions, your lifestyle. And when you intentionally take the positive actions, I think it will be, you'll be on the right path. And as Tommy said, and Sharon, give it time, not 8 weeks. Right, I think that's it for this week. We are bang on the hour. And yeah, guys, thanks so much for listening. Team, thanks for joining today, and hope you got some value from it. And
What's our question,
we will
Matt?
see you all in the next episode.
What's our question? Random question.
I actually already know it. This is a good question. How do you usually react if you receive bad service?
Do you want to answer this?
You know what's so funny, guys? That review, I got an email yesterday saying that review's got 1,000 people have seen it. Service in what way?
I don't know. That's the question is, how do you usually react if you receive bad service? I know me and Eve say nothing. We're those people that just like, oh, it was great, thanks. And then after it, Eve, like the next day, Eve would be like, that was rubbish. I thought you said it was grand. It's like, nah, that was bad. So we don't actually say anything.
Yeah, I would have always been in that, like, don't say anything. Well, firstly, because I've worked in the service industry, I have a huge respect for the servers, that they are never the ones to blame because there's so much going on in the background. I used to always be like, just stay quiet, say nothing, get over it. But then I think as I'm getting older, I'm like once it gets to a stage, there something needs to be said, because it's also beneficial to say. I think Irish people, we don't complain, we don't say anything. The restaurants or service, they never really improve because they're never getting complaints, you know. But I think there's a right way to go around, a nicer way to go around if you were to complain. But that place in Spain deserved my review.
For me, I think
Sharon.
it depends a lot on my mood or how I'm feeling in that moment, but I'm definitely more lean towards the side of moving away from the conflict. I don't want to create conflict here. Obviously, if it's like really, really bad, then I'm going to say something. But in that sense, I will say it in a way, but like, look, obviously I'm not happy about this. It's fine, these things happen. I'm not going to give out to them or bray. I'm not one of those people that would like demand something in return, you know. And it was interesting, actually, at the spa day, when I cut my foot, you know, in my mind, I was like, geez, I actually might get something here from this, because obviously it's a really fancy place. I didn't. But also, you know, like, that could have been one of those moments where I've been like, hey, I cut my foot inside your spa room, you know. That's like one of them situations. And I know people like that. I do know people that would like lose the lid, you know. Whereas I'm like, it's fine, it's grand, you know. If you want to give me something, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to cause any drama or any. I don't want. I kind of tend to stay away from conflict and that.
What about you, Sharon?
I'd never be like. I don't think I would be rude or cause conflict. I think for me, bad service is bad manners. Do you know, like, even like whatever about maybe people forgetting things or people being slow, because I know that can happen. Again, like, I've worked as a waitress. I know the way it can go with the kitchen, and I'll never be rude in terms of, oh, you forgot, but I'd be like, oh, would you mind? But bad service for me is bad manners. So, like, probably if I went somewhere and the service was really bad, I probably wouldn't go back. But I'd be nice to them, and hopefully eventually by the end of the dinner they might be, maybe I'll have a little more manners, and they just might, I don't know.
Yeah, cost you nothing to be nice, in that what they say.
No, and that's essentially what service is. It's personal skills, communication skills, manners, yeah.
Or you could be like Rowan, write a big complaint, get 1,000 views.
Yeah.
But that was actually,
Well, I
as we
actually
all
write that.
are here,
ChatGPT wrote that.
The context of that.
it was very
We need a whole
worth it, and people
podcast
should
to
be
describe
warned.
that. Yeah.
You actually did a favor, because now 1,000 people are warned about what could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't talk about that now, because
Don't mention the war.
it's not a future
But
trend.
that's kind
A
of like,
future trend of 2025 is we will never be eating there again.
Yeah.
you know, that always does happen though. Like, when one thing goes wrong, like a million things goes wrong. Do you ever have that? I've had it like with every job I've ever been in. Like, you know, when I worked in retail, you'd have a customer come in and you'd mess something up, and then you'd mess something else up, and you're like, this person must actually think, like, how could I have done this twice? Like, how is it possible? And then you do it a third time or something like that, and you're just like, oh my God, like, there's no way, like, this doesn't usually happen, but it just happened to you 3 times.
I swear
But
this never
it's kind
happens.
of like, the more it happens, the more it's likely to happen or something.
And as Sharon said, good manners. The guy actually left, so he didn't even give us good manners. He left.
He also said he didn't serve us, even though
hit
he was
us.
our only server.
I had forgotten about that. I tried to forget about it.
Anyway.
Me and Eve trying to take you out for a really nice dinner, and then that happened.
Hey, the bao bun was,
Right, guys.
was delicious.
In fairness,
I
it
love
was.
having my
But
starters for millions anyway.
Okay.
if you want to know that story, we'll do a full podcast on it. It'll probably take that long.
That is a story.
Guys, thank you for joining, and we will see you all next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks,
for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you found value in today's show, please take a moment to leave us a review and share it with someone who could benefit. Every single review or share helps us grow the show and will allow us to keep bringing you more great content. Stay tuned for weekly episodes where we'll be sharing more tips and insights to help you take your health, fitness, and mindset to the next level. Thanks again for joining us, and remember, consistency beats perfection. See you in the next episode.